words out of his mouth was like, look, let me explain it to you.
Welcome back to Apologists Reacts. I'm Josh Brahm, and I'm here with Emily Albrecht again. It's going to be Apologists Reacts.
I love it. New title.
And we are going to react to a scene from Jaws that has been on my list for a long time, except you haven't seen Jaws.
Correct. Which,
literally.
By the way, Josh was shocked to find out.
So we're going to spoil a little bit of Jaws for you here, but you've decided that's okay. So here's what's going on here.
Okay.
Is we're going to have a dialogue between three people here. So at this point in the movie, about halfway in, you have basically a big beach town that is the town's economy is basically based on summer, all kinds of people coming from out of town,
Tourists.
the tourists.
Okay.
So they need this to be like a beach that everyone wants to come to and excited by. And there's been a couple of shark attacks. And so on one hand, you've got the police chief who is afraid of water, wanting to try to protect people.
That's problematic. All right.
And living on an island, which is interesting. And they've also brought in, and this is Richard Dreyfuss's character, Hooper, who is like a marine biologist guy. He's like an expert on sharks. And he has come in as like the expert to try to help them figure out what they ought to do. So sort of those two on one side of the debate versus the mayor, who is kind of the other villain of the movie besides the shark.
Okay.
Because his thing is, I just want to make sure that all the tourists come. Like I'm going to balance that way more than like people's safety because we need the money, blah, blah, blah. You cannot shut the beach down. You cannot do all that stuff.
Okay.
So at this point, now that there's been another attack, they're going to try to convince him it really is time to shut down the beach.
Got it.
And that is the conflict in the dialogue.
Great white, Larry. A big one. And any shark expert in the world will tell you it's a killer. It's a man-eater.
Look, the situation is that apparently a great white shark has staked a claim in the waters off Amity Island. And he is going to continue to feed here as long as there is food in the water.
And there's no limit to what he's going to do. I mean, we've already had 3 incidents. 2 people killed inside of a week, and it's going to happen again. It happened before. The Jersey Beach.
1916, there were 5
people chewed up in the surf.
In 1 week.
Tell them about the swimmers.
A shark is attracted to the exact kind of splashing and activity that occurs whenever human beings go in swimming. You cannot avoid it.
If you open the beaches on the 4th of July, it's like ringing the dinner bell, for Christ's sake.
Mr.
Okay. So there's a couple things that I feel like the good guys here could be doing better at a persuasion level.
Oh, totally.
Right? So what do you
first of all,
we're probably seeing the exact same thing.
The first words out of his mouth was like, look, let me explain it to you. And there was even the move. It was just like, I'm walking with you. Look, let me explain what the situation is because clearly you're not smart enough.
Okay. Yeah.
That's just a little bit aggressive, but also makes it feel like if I was the mayor, I would feel a little talked down too.
Yeah.
I would feel like, okay, you don't think I understand the situation. And he probably doesn't fully understand the situation, but he thinks he does.
Right.
And so you need to be careful with the way that you start presenting information so that they're going to be willing to hear you, not just, I'm the intelligent one here, let me enlighten you with all of my knowledge because you're an idiot, which is kind of the way that it started.
Right. To their credit, this isn't the first time they've debated with the mayor. So there have been at least one conversation before that is much more kind of calm and relaxed, but then like the mayor's just kind of not listening. And like this is sort of Brody, I think feeling like he's got to amp it up for a chance to get the mayor to listen. But if I were him, I would maybe amp it up by like half that much or something like that. Like more good. And having an expert there, I think good. But like, you've got to be so careful when it's the 2-on-1 thing. Like as soon as it's 2-on-1, you've got to be working extra hard to help the other person not feel defensive, to not feel like they're just going to get talked over or whatever. Now, there's a power dynamic thing here, too, where the mayor's got more power. So maybe that helps level things a little bit. But he hasn't gotten any words in. But the two good guys are interrupting each other with and speed talking. How fast are they trying to get all this out? I don't think it's helping their cause, but also it's kind of understandable that like there's people dying and it's like they kind of feel like there's got to be this intensity. So
I think there's definitely situations in which we need to go into speed mode in a conversation. I've done it. with like pro-choice students on a college campus who just like, that's their attitude. They really like that kind of a thing, but it's very rare. And I'm never going to start my conversation that way.
Right.
It's like, I think they would have a much better case. I wouldn't be as hard on the good guys if they had started their conversation out in the really calm way. They could tell it wasn't getting through, and then they slowly amped it up because clearly that's just what he needed.
That is exactly what they should have done.
Yeah.
That is exactly what they should have done. All right, let me back it up just a little bit.
Whenever human beings go in swimming, you cannot avoid it.
If you open the beaches on the 4th of July, it's like ringing the dinner bell, for Christ's
Look,
sake.
Mr. Vaughn, I pulled a tooth the size of a shot glass out of the wrecked hull of the boat out there, and it was the tooth of a great white.
It was Ben Gardner's boat. It was all chewed up. I helped tow it in. You should have seen him.
Where is that tooth? Did you see it, Brody?
No, I didn't see it. He dropped it.
I had an accident.
Way in.
And what did you say the name of this shark is?
It's a Carcharodon carcharias. It's a great white.
But you don't have the tooth. Look,
So, is he trying to say that you're lying to me, you can't produce evidence, and therefore I can ignore everything else you have to say if you just can't produce the tooth?
I wouldn't go as far as lying. I think the implication here is that these guys are like way overblowing the nature of this thing. We don't know if this is one shark doing all the attacks. Maybe it's some accidents. We don't even know if some of these people, maybe those people didn't die from a shark. Maybe it was something else. Maybe the boat got stuck, whatever. And hey, you saying you saw this proof. Like, notice how his face changes as soon as he implies that he might have tangible proof. Is like his demeanor changes, and he's calmly asking, but he's now multiple times confirmed you don't actually have the proof in hand, which
does make the good guys look bad.
And I'm Hooper, I'm super frustrated because this poor guy is like, this expert is like, I'm giving you all this evidence and you're just mad that I don't have a literal tooth from the damn thing's mouth to show you. You're like,
Like, it does make them look bad a little bit that they were maybe, like, irresponsible for not getting it, but it shouldn't discredit everything the expert is saying.
And that's what he's doing. Yeah. You can just see, he's just like, he's so sad at this point.
It's a Carcharodon carcharias. It's a great white.
But you don't have the tooth. Look, we depend on the summer people here for our very lives.
You are not going to have a summer
unless you
deal with this problem.
We're not only going to have to close the beach, we're going to have to hire somebody to kill the shark. I mean, we're going to have to tell the Coast Guard.
Mr. Vaughn, you have to contact the shark
We're going to have to put extra deputies on because
you have to ring this entire harbor.
I can't understand what anybody's saying anymore.
That's just, I like literally can't hear them.
The lines of communication have broken down.
Yeah. Okay. So first, I would say that the mayor is making a decently valid point. He's saying that we could have a lot of people lose their livelihoods, like lose their lives in a figurative sense, if we close down this beach. I think he could make that point stronger, but he's vaguely making it. And this is the moment where I think the good guys should jump in and acknowledge that point before saying, this is why that isn't a valid reason.
Find common ground?
Right, find common ground. Like, great concept. And also be like, I recognize that this is going to cause harm to your community in other ways, but I think that this is still the action we need to take because this harm is worse. What they need to essentially prove to him, if they're going to change his mind, is that one harm is worse than the other harm, and they're not trying to do that. In many ways, this is going to get controversial real fast. This reminds me of the discussions people were having at the beginning of COVID, where there was a lot of people on the stereotypical left who were very concerned about people dying, and there were people on the stereotypical right who were very concerned about the economy and like children in schools and losing their education, and like there were two harms. And basically no one who was having this conversation super publicly on television on either side was willing to acknowledge the opposite harm.
Yes.
Like, in order for us to have that good COVID discussion, you have to acknowledge that both harms exist. Now let's figure out how to weigh them effectively. But instead, all that happened were the people on the left were screaming that you don't care about people dying, and people on the right were screaming, you don't care about children, you don't care about the economy, you don't care about all the small business owners. And we just were missing each other. And I think that's the exact same thing they're doing here.
That's a really, really good observation.
Thank you.
All right. Let's back up a little bit.
to hire somebody to kill the shark. I mean, we're going to have to tell the Coast Guard.
Mr.
We're
Vaughn,
going
you
to
have to
get shark
contact the
repellent.
shark
We're going to have to put
research
extra
panel.
deputies on because
You
every
have to
nut
ring
in the
this
world is going to
entire
come in here.
harbor.
We got
Look at the mayor's body language.
He's like, I'm done listening.
I was checked out 5 sentences ago. Now I'm just showing it.
Understandably, if I've got two people screaming two different things at me at the same time,
Yeah.
I don't care how intelligent it is. I'm not listening. I'm not like capable of listening in
Yeah.
that kind of an environment.
Yeah.
I don't think one of you are familiar with our problems.
I think that I am familiar with the fact that you are going to ignore this particular problem until it swims up and bites you on the ass. Now, wait a second.
Chief.
There are 2 ways to deal with this problem. You're
Chief.
either going to kill this animal or you're going to cut off its food supply.
Larry, we have to close the beaches. Brody, sick vandalism. That is a deliberate mutilation of a public service message.
This might be the weakest moment for the mayor.
Yep.
Like, they've just gone from making an argument for exactly why you have to close down the beaches, and then, like, Brody kind of, like, just restates the conclusion, we have to close the beaches, and the mayor shifts topics wildly, dramatically
To someone's vandalizing my stuff.
to a billboard. A billboard! Like, what are you doing?
Yes. Yes. Now, granted, the good guys did not make the argument in such a way that made it easy to respond to.
True.
And so there's almost a de-escalation move of like, y'all need to chill. Let's take a moment and talk about this other thing. Like, I feel
Right.
like I'm playing the role
Yeah.
of defending the mayor here.
Yeah.
I think that absolutely he's being ridiculous
Yes.
and like he needs to close the beach. But
Right.
I also understand that if I was in that situation, I just been screamed at. It's like, okay, look, we need to take a chill pill for a second.
Right.
Because you are like he has consistently kept a lower tone,
Yes,
a lower
totally.
profile,
Totally.
which I think is the only thing that's making me respect him right now. Like, that's it. I don't respect his argument at all,
Don't
but I
respect his
do
outfit
respect.
or anything. Yeah,
also, his outfit is pretty hideous. But the one thing that's giving him points in my
Right.
book is that he is staying cool and collected,
Right.
and not rising to their level of screaming back.
I agree with that. It's just the apologist in me is just like my head explodes when I see, Hooper has just made an argument or an assertion that you are going to ignore this until like the shark eats you, and literally the next thing the mayor says is,
I'm
"That's
ignoring
vandalism. There's vandalism on this
it. He
billboard." It's
literally
like,
starts ignoring it.
isn't that sort of proving Hooper's point? Like
Yes.
you're ignoring everything. Yeah. So
You're right.
it's pretty bad.
Larry, we have to close the beaches. Brody, sick vandalism. That is a deliberate mutilation of a public service message. Now, I want those little paint-happy bastards caught and hung up by their Buster Browns.
This is such a good acting moment for Richard Dreyfuss that I've never noticed here. He's amazing in this entire movie. This is not his best scene by far, but notice this thing where it's almost like he just saw the billboard for the first time after the mayor pointed out. Look at this. This is so great.
I gotta see this.
He's like, what?
Vandalism. That is a deliberate mutilation of a public service message.
What?
Now,
That's
I
what
want
we're
those
doing now?
little paint-happy bastards caught and hung up by their Buster Browns.
That's it. Goodbye. I'm not going to waste my time arguing with a man who's lining up to be a hot lunch. I'm going to see you later.
Oh, no, please don't do this.
He's not. Mr. Vaughn.
Okay.
That's how they should have started the conversation.
Right.
Mr. Vaughn,
Right.
I'm concerned. I mean, I don't know what he's going to say next, but like
Right.
that tone right there, this might have gone so much better.
So this is an interesting question. So if you're a Hooper, if you're in the middle,
Yeah.
so he just did this thing where he's basically like, okay, I'm out of this thing. I'm done. I give up. And then Brody goes and be like, no, come back, come on. We got to try like one more time or whatever that happened there. And he comes back and now he's dropped his volume, which is great. But I'm wondering could that have been a good debate tactic as far as like if you're trying to persuade the mayor to you as the outside expert, pretend like you're giving up on the person and then like let's say they planned that.
Okay.
Like ahead of time. Okay,
Yeah.
worst case scenario, I'm going to pretend like I give up, and you come in and kind of like calm me down and bring me back in. Like, could that be an effective debate tactic at all, or not?
I mean, in a way, it's kind of like playing good cop, bad cop, just in terms of like you've given yourself two very different personalities in a conversation, and the break in the middle is almost the excuse for you to get to change personalities, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think it would be more effective. I mean, I don't really know about as a debate strategy. As a dialogue strategy, I think it'd be more effective if he apologized as the start of it. If person has been screaming at me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I've shut down, which is what I feel like the mayor has basically done.
Yeah.
Is like, nothing is going to get through.
Yeah.
They walk away. They're like, I give up. They take a moment, regroup, and come back and say, I'm really sorry. I'm really emotional about this right now.
Yeah.
I think understandably, because I think people are dying, but like, I should not have treated you that way.
Yeah.
Can we talk about this more reasonably?
Yeah.
That, to me, as the other person, like now I am going to actually respect the things that are coming up. Whereas this seems like more of a little bit of a trick that could work in a debate, but it's not going to be as effective as if you like truly flip the good cop, bad cop switch and actually apologize for your previous behavior and be like, that wasn't really acceptable. Let's talk about this like adults. Yeah. I think the mayor is more likely
I'll
to take
acknowledge
this
before I hear it in the comments, and I've explained this more in previous episodes of this. I understand this is Hollywood.
Yes.
Your version's way less entertaining.
Of course.
But way more effective at dialogue. And the whole point here is to use this as an opportunity to see a sort of a dialogue that we can then analyze and say, okay, in real life, what lessons can we take? What things do we see that are working well? What things are not working well? Yeah. Don't just be like, well, I'm glad that Emily's not a screenwriter. Like, okay, that's not the point.
What we are dealing with here is a perfect engine, an eating machine. It's really a miracle of evolution. All this machine does is swim and eat and make little sharks. And that's all. Now, why don't you take a long, close look at this sign? Those proportions are correct.
Love to prove that, wouldn't you? Gotcha.
Okay. There's a couple of like really interesting things that I'm observing here. Notice the difference in the mayor's body language. As soon as Hooper starts basically saying, like, okay, he's calm, and he's basically like, here's how bad the bad news is, he totally has his attention, maybe for the first time in this whole scene. And then he goes straight from that to talking about the thing that the mayor was wanting to talk about. It's like, okay, now I'm going to use the billboard, but it's like, I'm going to do this jujitsu thing where I'm going to use your thing against you. Like, take a look at this. That is the best, I think, moment here probably in this scene. That was brilliant. And what the mayor's about to say is really, really bad.
What we are dealing with here is a perfect engine, an eating machine. It's really a miracle of evolution. All this machine does is swim and eat and make little sharks. And that's all. Now, why don't you take a long, close look at this sign? Those proportions are correct.
Love to prove that, wouldn't you? Get your name into the National Geographic.
So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
He is asserting that his name is Hooper, right?
Yes.
Okay. That Hooper is only here doing all this, caring about this, so that he can become famous for finding sharks.
That is the personal insult attack that just got lobbied, yes. For trying to come in and protect your people, your citizens of your...
Yes, and then after I lobby that attack on you, I'm going to walk away, which is what I think the mayor just did.
Yeah, yeah. Or I mean, at least... Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if he's, because the camera angle, I don't know, like, is he like, I'm now walking to my car, I'm done? Or if it's just like, I'm going to, like, kind of, like, walk off
away.
A little bit.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
like,
okay, I'll find out. But,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Proportions are correct.
Love to prove that, wouldn't you?
This is why Steve Carell, because he's doing all this publicity now for the new Minions movie, he just did a thing where he was asked to, like, rank his top 5 favorite movie villains. And so his number 1 favorite, he said, was the shark from Jaws. And then he goes to his number 2 favorite movie villain in all movie history is the mayor from Jaws.
Wow, he really likes Jaws.
It was so good. And this is why.
Get your name into the National Geographic.
Larry, if we make an effort today, we might be able to save August.
August? For Christ's sake, tomorrow's the 4th of July, and we will be open for business. It's going to be one of the best summers we've ever had. Now, if you fellas are concerned about the beaches, you do whatever you have to make them safe. But those beaches will be open for this weekend.
I will give the mayor one point.
Okay.
Which is that he's at least at the very end of the conversation acknowledged you believe there is a threat, and I am now giving you the authority to do whatever you need to neutralize that threat, as long as it doesn't shut down the beach.
Right.
So I'm not conceding my point, but I'm at least conceding that there is a threat.
If you want to do some other things.
Right. I believe that you have knowledge. I believe you are intelligent.
Yeah.
And I am going to give you some level of authority.
Yeah.
I'm done complimenting the mayor. That was all I had. He gets 1 point.
I mean, we try so hard to be charitable at ERI, and
trying.
This might be the biggest example in ERI history of being able to be charitable towards a human that is hard to be charitable.
Yes.
That was really good. I'm proud of you for that. He was walking away. He was walking all the way to his car. So he was basically, I'm walking away from Hooper. The only reason anything else happened is that Brody runs up to try one more thing, which also didn't work. I feel like a thing that Brody did well, though, was once Hooper starts doing kind of his more effective, he's brought his volume down, Brody stops interrupting. He's silent. He lets the expert talk. He can tell probably that Hooper is making the argument more effectively than he can because he knows Sharks better and all that stuff.
And the mayor's paying more attention now, so don't screw it up.
So he's silent. He doesn't distract from it, which I thought was really, really good. And then when he comes in for his literal last-ditch effort, he's also more calm than before. I thought that was really good. So when I do the movie and TV scenes, I like to rank everyone at the end on a 1 to 10 scale of how well they did in the dialogue. So I feel like since you're the one who's never seen this before, you should be the one giving the official rankings. Because I've seen Jaws 15 times.
That's true. And I'm basing it only off the scene, so you could be biased by the rest of the movie.
True.
All right.
So let's start with Brody.
Which is this guy.
That's
Brody. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I feel like most of what Brody did was just interrupt. During the good part of the conversation, he kept his mouth shut, which was arguably a good move.
Yes.
But as a result, I'm inclined to give him a worse rating because all he really did was interrupt.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give him, I don't know, a 4.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I feel like he has legitimate reason to be concerned.
Yeah.
If he had been screaming about anything else, I would have automatically given him a worse rating. But he's trying to show how serious this is by his tone of voice.
Yeah.
But I think the interrupting really hurt him.
Yeah.
And the fact that he didn't previously step back and let the expert talk.
Yes.
The expert really should be the one trying to persuade the mayor.
Yeah.
And so that was probably his worst move. I'm going to give him a 4.
There's also one other thing I'll just add to as long as we're stacking on top of Brody. He made far more assertions than arguments, whereas Hooper, as the academic, was making more actual arguments based on either research, evidence, or whatever, versus just assertions. And generally speaking, that's better. Okay, Hooper.
Yeah. Hooper, he definitely did pretty horribly for the whole first part. I was not a fan, and I was more on Team Mayor for the first little bit, at least in terms of who's behaving better.
Right.
But then he definitely made a switch to way more effective tactics.
Yeah.
And I give him a lot of points for that because he had the self-awareness to realize he needed to do that.
Yeah.
And it'd have been better if he'd apologized.
Yes.
But I think that he improved himself a lot. And so I'm going to give him a 7. I want to give him lower than that because of the beginning, but he did improve so much. And I'm a person that's very yay for improvement.
Yay for improvement.
So
there's also I probably would have had the instinct to give him a 6, except that billboard thing was
genius.
So
it was good. Yes.
It was so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think 7's fair.
Right,
and then the mayor.
I really don't know what to do. I'm very torn on this.
It's hard, right?
It's hard because
he was way calmer in the beginning.
Right.
This is the hard thing about Apologist reacts.
He was just ended with, and I'm done and I'm out of here. So not helpful.
Right. That's arguably worse than any of the things that the other guys did,
I agree.
It's worse than interrupting.
It's definitely worse than interrupting. It's worse than... So, I have to give him lower than a 4 because I already gave Brody a 4.
Yeah.
But I don't think I want to go too much lower because he handled himself very calmly for most of it.
We can't go too low because I did Age of Ultron and physical aggression happened in that one. So they had to get a 1 there.
No one
so that's
picked someone up and threw them to the shark.
No one hurt anybody.
So I'm going to give the mayor a 3.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, between that and the insane pivot to the billboard vandalism.
Up until that point,
he's listening.
I was going to give it a 6. up until the point he made the switch to the billboard. Because it's like, he's not really listening, but he's keeping his cool.
Yeah.
He did ask a legitimate question first of like, do you have the shark tooth? Like,
he made his own argument.
He made his own argument. Yep. I would give him a 6 until the moment he turned to the billboard, and then he just lost all of it.
And then walked away.
Yep.
It's like done and done. Yeah. I think 3 is fair. Okay. I think we're going to have to do this more. I think the only thing I'm afraid now is that we're going to get a bunch of comments that are basically Josh should never do the Apologist Reacts alone again. I'm always going to have to do this with Emily now. I don't think we're going to be able to pull that off because you're not in town often enough.
I kind of don't live here,
But maybe we will say that every time from now on that you come down here, we will do at least one of these because this was really fun. I'm glad you were able to do this. If you want more dialogue tips from us, EquippedCourse.com is a great online course. It's 5 hours long with not only practical dialogue tips like the ones that we've been talking about here, including body language, a lot of interesting body language things in this clip, as well as what we have found to be the most effective, productive pro-life arguments you can make when you're actually having a good, hopefully, conversation with
and how to make your conversation turn into a good one if maybe it doesn't start out so well.
How do you pivot? Yes. How to, from it being from them being super defensive to helping them.
How do you get their wall down?
Their walls.
Yes.
Down. Yeah. So get that equippedcourse.com. Go have a good conversation.